Last week, I sat across from someone who earns $140,000 a year. Nice title, good company, benefits, the whole package. She looked at me and said, I have $600 in savings. Not $600,000, $600. And the thing is, she wasn't embarrassed about spending. She was embarrassed about not knowing. She'd never been taught what to do once the money hit her account. She had earning figured out. She had spending figured out. Everything in between was a blank page. Nobody helped her fill in. That conversation stuck with me because she's not unusual. She's average. The majority of working adults in this country could not cover a $1,000 emergency without borrowing. Not because they're irresponsible, because the entire system was designed to move money through their hands, not into them. What follows are 21 money lessons that separate people who build wealth from people who just earn a living. These aren't tricks. They're not hacks. They're the fundamental principles that nobody puts on a whiteboard in school, but everybody discovers eventually, usually after paying thousands of dollars in tuition to their own mistakes. Some of these are going to feel obvious once you hear them. That's the cruel part. They should have been obvious years ago. Let's go. Lesson 1. You are financially illiterate on purpose. This isn't an accident. Financial education was never left out of schools because of time constraints or curriculum priorities. It was left out because financially literate consumers are harder to profit from. Every industry that touches your money, banking, insurance, real estate, lending, benefits when you don't fully understand the product. Confusion is the business model. The mortgage broker doesn't want you calculating total interest paid over 30 years. The dealership doesn't want you thinking about total cost of ownership. The credit card company absolutely does not want you understanding how minimum payments are engineered to maximize their revenue. Your confusion is not a gap in the system. It is the system. Recognizing this changes everything because it means the default path, the one that feels normal, the one everyone around you follows, was designed by people whose financial interests are directly opposed to yours. Lesson 2. Your net worth is the only number that matters. Not your salary, not your credit score, not your investment returns in any single year. Your net worth, everything you own minus everything you owe, one number, that's the scoreboard. Someone earning $80,000 with $200,000 in assets and no debt has a net worth of $200,000. Someone earning $250,000 with $300,000 in assets and $400,000 in debt has a negative net worth. The higher earner is technically poorer. Calculate yours today. Write it down. Check it every 3 months. You cannot improve what you refuse to measure. And most people have never once calculated the single number that defines their actual financial position. Lesson 3. I can afford it is the most dangerous sentence in personal finance. Afford doesn't mean you have enough money in your account to buy it. That's a checking balance, not affordability. True affordability means you can purchase something and still fund every financial priority you have without interruption. Your investments continue. Your emergency fund stays intact. Your debt payoff timeline doesn't shift. If buying something requires pausing any of those, you cannot afford it. You're just able to pay for it. There's a massive difference between those two things, and the financial industry has spent decades blurring that line because the blur is profitable. Lesson 4. Every monthly payment is a salary you pay someone else. $15 for the streaming service, $12 for that app. $50 for a gym you visit twice a month, $180 for a phone upgrade plan. Individually, each one feels small. Collectively, the average American household spends over $200 monthly on subscriptions alone. That's $2,400 a year, flowing out automatically, often for services you barely use and occasionally forget you have. Go through your bank statement right now. Count the recurring charges. I guarantee you'll find at least one you forgot existed, and at least 2 you could eliminate without noticing any change in your daily life. The money companies have figured out something powerful. A purchase you make once requires you to decide once. A subscription requires you to decide to cancel, which most people never do. They're not selling you a product. They're selling you inertia. Lesson 5. The big 3 expenses determine 80% of your financial outcome. Housing, transportation, and food. That's it. Those 3 categories consume the vast majority of most people's income. You can optimize your coffee habit and cancel every subscription you have. And it won't move the needle if you're spending 45% of your income on rent and 15% on car payments. Get the big 3 right and you can be sloppy everywhere else and still build wealth. Get them wrong and no amount of coupon clipping saves you. The most impactful financial decision most people make isn't an investment. It's choosing where to live and how to get around. Those two decisions alone set the trajectory for years. Lesson 6, renting is not throwing money away. This myth has cost people enormous amounts of wealth. The idea that rent is wasted while a mortgage builds equity ignores almost everything about how homeownership actually works. In the first years of a 30-year mortgage, nearly all of your payment goes to interest, not equity. You're paying the bank, not building wealth. Add property taxes, insurance, maintenance, closing costs, and the opportunity cost of a massive down payment locked in a single illiquid asset. Renting can absolutely be the smarter financial move depending on your market, your mobility, your career stage, and what you do. With the money you don't lock into a house, home ownership makes sense for many people in many situations. But buying a house because someone told you renting is throwing money away is how people end up house poor, asset rich on paper, and broke in practice. Negotiation is the fastest raise you'll ever get. Most people will negotiate a price at a garage sale, but won't negotiate their salary, their rent, their medical bills, their insurance premiums, or their credit card interest rates. Every one of those is negotiable. The average successful salary negotiation adds $5,000 to $10,000 per year. Over a 30-year career, that single conversation, one uncomfortable hour, can be worth over $500,000 when you account for compounding raises built on that higher base. Call your insurance company and ask for a lower rate. Call your credit card company and ask for a reduced APR. When you get a job offer, counter the worst they can. Say is no, and most of the time they don't. Lesson 8, your social circle is a financial environment. You absorb the spending habits of the people around you, the same way you absorb their vocabulary and opinions. If your 5 closest friends all drive finance cars, eat out 4 times a week, and treat shopping as entertainment, those behaviors feel normal. They become your baseline. If your 5 closest friends invest consistently, talk openly about money, and measure success by net worth, rather than visible spending, those behaviors become your normal instead. This isn't about dropping your friends. It's about awareness. Recognize when your environment is pulling your spending upward. Seek out communities, even online, where financial discipline is the norm, rather than the exception. The people who surround you set your financial thermostat whether you notice it or not. Lesson 9, nobody talks about money, and that silence is expensive. In most cultures, discussing your salary, your debt, your net worth, or your financial struggles is considered inappropriate. More taboo than politics, more uncomfortable than health problems. This silence protects exactly one group. It protects the people and institutions who benefit from your ignorance. When coworkers don't discuss salaries, the employer benefits from information asymmetry. When friends don't discuss financial mistakes, everyone repeats the same ones independently. When parents don't discuss money with children, the cycle of financial illiteracy continues. Start talking about money, honestly, with people you trust. The discomfort lasts 10 minutes. The value lasts forever. Lesson 10, your phone is engineered to extract money from you. Every app on your phone was designed by teams of people whose primary metric is engagement, and engagement frequently means transactions. One-click purchasing, saved payment methods, push notifications about sales that expire in hours, algorithms that show you products related to things you've browsed. Your phone isn't a neutral tool. It's a storefront that follows you everywhere, studies your behavior, and presents buying opportunities at your psychologically weakest moments. Delete shopping apps. Remove saved payment information from browsers. Add friction between impulse and purchase. That friction is the difference between spending deliberately and spending reactively, and reactive spending is where most financial leakage occurs. Lesson 11, the 48-hour rule will save you thousands annually. Before any non-essential purchase over $50, wait 48 hours. That's it. Don't say no. Just say not yet. The psychology behind this is powerful. Most impulse purchases are driven by a temporary emotional state. Excitement, stress, boredom, the desire to feel something new. That state passes. After 48 hours, you'll either still want the item, in which case buy it without guilt, or you'll realize the desire evaporated entirely. Most people who implement this rule report that 60 to 70% of their intended purchases never happen, not because they forced deprivation, but because the want wasn't real in the first place. Lesson 12. Cheap and frugal are completely different things. Cheap means spending the least possible amount regardless of value. Frugal means optimizing for value regardless of price. A cheap person buys the $30 shoes that fall apart in 3 months and replaces them twice a year. A frugal person buys the $120 shoes that last 4 years. The cheap person spends $240 over that period. The frugal person spends $120. Frugality is intelligence applied to spending. It sometimes means spending more upfront because the math favors durability, quality, or long-term savings. The goal isn't to minimize every expense. It's to maximize value from every dollar. Lesson 13. Inflation is a tax you never voted for. Every year, the purchasing power of your money decreases. At 3% average inflation, your dollar loses roughly half its value over 24 years. Money sitting in a standard savings account earning 0.05% isn't staying safe. It's slowly evaporating. That $50,000 you're keeping in checking because it feels secure will buy $25,000 worth of goods in 2 decades. You didn't spend it. You didn't lose it. Inflation just quietly ate it while you weren't looking. This is why investing isn't optional. It's not about getting rich. At a minimum, it's about preventing your existing wealth from being silently destroyed. Keeping large amounts of cash uninvested isn't cautious. It's expensive. Lesson 14. The price tag is never the real price. A $35,000 car financed at 6% over 6 years cost over $40,000. That's $5,000 in interest alone. A $300,000 house at 7% over 30 years costs over $718,000 in total payments. You're paying for the house more than twice. Even a $1,000 purchase on a credit card at 22% APR takes over 5 years to pay off, making minimum payments. And you'll pay nearly $600 in interest. The sticker price is marketing. The real price includes interest, fees, insurance, maintenance, and opportunity cost. Until you calculate the real price, you're making financial decisions with incomplete information, which is exactly the condition under which you make the worst ones. Lesson 15. Your employer's benefits package is part of your compensation. Stop ignoring it. Most people accept a job offer, skim the benefits, PDF, select whatever health plan sounds familiar, and never think about it again. This is like negotiating your salary and then forgetting to deposit half your paychecks. HSA contributions, employer retirement matches, stock purchase plans, commuter benefits, tuition reimbursement. These have real, quantifiable value. An employer match of 5% on a $70,000 salary is $3,500 per year in free money. Over 30 years invested at market returns, that single benefit alone becomes over $600,000. Read your benefits package thoroughly. Use everything you're entitled to. You already earned it. Lesson 16. Diversification isn't about having many investments. It's about having uncorrelated ones. Owning 10 different tech stocks isn't diversification. If the tech sector drops, all 10 fall together. True diversification means your portfolio contains assets that respond differently to the same events. When stocks fall, bonds often hold steady or rise. When domestic markets struggle, international markets may not. When traditional assets decline, alternative investments may provide stability. The point isn't to maximize returns, it's to ensure that no single event can devastate your entire financial position. Concentration builds wealth. Diversification protects it. You need both at different stages. Lesson 17. Side income changes your financial psychology entirely. There's a psychological ceiling to how much you can save from a single paycheck. At a certain point, further cuts feel like deprivation. Earning additional income outside your primary job doesn't just add dollars. It shifts your relationship with money from scarcity to abundance. Instead of asking, what can I cut? You start asking, what can I build? The freelance project, the consulting work, the small online business, whatever form it takes. Extra income earmarked directly for investing accelerates wealth building without requiring you to squeeze your lifestyle any further. And there's a secondary benefit. Multiple income streams provide security that a single employer never can. The person with one income source has a single point of failure. The person with 3 has resilience. Lesson 18, your credit score is a tool, not a trophy. People optimize their credit scores like it's a video game, celebrating when the number goes up, panicking when it dips. The score itself generates zero wealth. It's useful for one thing, getting favorable terms when you need to borrow. That's it. A high credit score with no savings, no investments, and no financial plan is a polished key to a room with nothing in it. Focus on the fundamentals: income, savings, investments, debt reduction. A good credit score follows naturally from responsible financial behavior. It's the side effect, not the goal. Lesson 19. Every financial product you don't understand is designed to benefit the seller. Whole life insurance, variable annuities, structured notes, complex mortgage products with adjustable rates and introductory teasers. If you don't fully understand how a financial product works, who profits from it, and what the total cost is over its lifetime, you're almost certainly on the wrong side of the transaction. The complexity isn't accidental. It's the mechanism by which value transfers from buyer to seller. Simple financial products, index funds, term life insurance, fixed-rate mortgages, high-yield savings accounts are almost always better for the consumer. Complexity benefits the creator of the product. Simplicity benefits the user. Lesson 20, your financial plan needs exactly one page. Not a binder, not a spreadsheet with 40 tabs. One page with 5 numbers. Your monthly income, your monthly essential expenses, your monthly investment amount, your current net worth, your target emergency fund. If you know those 5 numbers and review them monthly, you have more financial clarity than 90% of the population. Everything else is refinement. People skip financial planning because they think it requires complexity. It doesn't. It requires honesty about 5 numbers and the discipline to check them regularly. Write them down today. Put them somewhere you'll see them. That single page will do more for your finances than any book, course, or app. Lesson 21. The goal isn't retirement. The goal is options. Retirement as a concept is a finish line. Work for 40 years, then stop. But financial independence isn't about stopping. It's about choosing. Choosing to work because you want to, not because you have to. Choosing to take 6 months off to travel, to be present for your kids, to start something new, to say no to work that drains you. Every dollar you invest buys a small piece of future freedom, not freedom from work, freedom to choose what your time gets spent on. That reframing matters because retirement feels distant and abstract, especially if you're young. But options feel immediate. Every financial decision you make today is either expanding or contracting the choices available to your future self. Here's the thread that runs through all 21 of these lessons. The system you operate inside was not built to make you wealthy. It was built to make you a consumer. Every default, the checking account that pays nothing, the 30-year mortgage, the finance car, the credit card with the $15,000 limit you didn't ask for, every default was set by someone who profits when you follow it without questioning. Building wealth requires you to consciously override those defaults. Not all of them, not all at once, but enough of them consistently over time that the math starts working in your favor instead of against it. I went deeper on all of this in another video, how to actually set up the systems that make this automatic, how to structure accounts so money flows to the right places without willpower, how to calculate exactly what financial independence looks like for your specific situation, how the math behind every lesson in this video actually plays out over 10, 20, 30 years with real numbers. That video is the implementation guide for everything you just heard. Because knowing 21 lessons means nothing if your bank account looks the same in 6 months. What separates the people who build wealth from the people who just understand wealth conceptually is action, not dramatic action, not quitting your job or moving to a cheaper city, or eating rice and beans for a year. Small, boring, automatic action repeated consistently until the compound effects become impossible to ignore. You heard 21 lessons today. You don't need to implement all of them. Pick the 3 that made you the most uncomfortable. Those are your 3. The discomfort is the signal. It means there's a gap between what you know you should be doing and what you're actually doing. Close that gap. Start this week. Not because motivation will carry you. It won't. Start because the cost of not starting gets more expensive every single day, and today is the cheapest it will ever be. You've spent your whole life learning how to earn money. It's time to learn how to keep it